Garrett Temple, and it would always end poorly. But Tyler Johnson and this other kid too, Jeremiah Martin, they've made it a track meet where now the Nets are playing 75% of the court, whereas a lot of times they would end up playing in 50% of the court in a half-court offense, basically eventually shooting a low percentage three at the end of the shot clock type of thing. The Nets now, they don't mess around with the ball. They're getting to the basket within the first 5 to 10 seconds of the play, and they're shooting it from the mid-range in a way that has kind of changed how you guard the Nets. How effective do you think that can be? Is that real? Was that just because of the bubble? Is this game plan going to work at all on Toronto?
Yeah, that's interesting. Let me ask something I'm pivoting a little bit because I've been thinking about this.
Sure.
What do you make of how Allen does against the trio of like Boucher, Ibaka, and Gasol? Because I think rightfully there's a lot of time spending on the guards because that's basically the only way the Nets can score.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of curious what you think, because what I'm nervous about is like kind of, so you mentioned TLC, and I just feel like you get someone like TLC or Temple or whoever, and Jeremiah Martin, whoever, but like when they're getting guarded by Van Fleet, Lowry, Anunoby, Norm Powell, it's a totally different game. And I'm wondering just what's going to happen on the boards, like if it's going to be a big Kuruk series. I was wondering maybe if Donta Hall is going to play.
So the Nets confound me on, like, I can't make sense out of how they line up in the front court. The reason why I even brought up the whole TLC being the pivotal player is because he's been the reason why it's been okay that they're so small. They having that extra perimeter shooter when people are all over Joe Harris, and Joe Harris has to I wonder if he at the end of games needs a blood transfusion, because he's just out there like fighting guys that are more athletic, bigger. The NBA small forward are freaks of nature, and he's just out there battling. I know that's a traditionally a funny Nets word. Shout out to Avery Johnson. But he's out there battling every single game, and he's a winning ball player. Like, we ask him to do things like taking last-minute shots. That's not what Joe Harris is here for. But based off of what he's here for, if he's going to shoot 40% from three, which is what we expect, and TLC is shooting 40% from three, then that's how you counteract, how good that those perimeter defenders are. The Nets, those guys aren't bigger than Karras. They don't traditionally guard Karras very well, and I'm telling you, it's going to be Karras versus Van Vliet. And we actually have a size advantage on them in the backcourt where we don't, clearly, with Gasol, Boucher, and Ibaka, the monsters that they have up there. But what we have to do is be younger and be faster. We have to believe in these things that the Nets believe in, and if we could get shooting, I think Tyler Johnson is fine. You know why? Tyler Johnson looks like Florida trailer park trash. Right? No offense to Tyler, but if the person of you in your full Nets gear came out of a trailer park in the upper regions of Saskaloosa or whatever the hell is out there, I would not be surprised, because Tyler Johnson definitely seems that way, but he plays that way too. You know how guys with dreadlocks all play the same? Except for Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince is the only guy, like, people think Taurean Prince is going to play like Jay Crowder, but he's not. I think Tyler Johnson is a light-skinned Jay Crowder type. I think he was meant to have dreads, which is what this curly top thing mess on the top of his head right now is represents. I think he's one of those guys. He, even when he's not making shots, he's such a shithouse in terms of like I watched him just sticking his elbow, and I won't even say in who, so in case any NBA officials, I don't want to rat my man out, but dude plays dirty Miami Heat basketball. He brought a little bit of that edge, and him and Rodions on the court together was like, it's not like great man-to-man D like what Kawhi does, or lock you up in the post like what Ibaka does or something like that. But Tyler Johnson is just a master of shithousery. Like, it's a fast break and he'll trip and fall right in front of another player. Like,
interesting you brought him up though, because like he's been like, I mean, he was impressive to me in the bubble. Look, I think someone said this. I think one of the analytics guys, like Nate Duncan or someone like that, said that on his podcast, that like a lot of the shots he took were contested, long twos and kind of fadeaways. And I don't know if that'll stick, but like it is an interesting point, because if you have him kind of playing, I think he was definitely. Tell me what you think. I thought he was definitely putting pressure on D's in a way that like I don't think even the defenses themselves saw coming. No. And so I think if he continues this way, and then you're like, all right, well, we'll throw Tyler Johnson, Joe Harris, LeVert, and then the question is like, who's kind of like the fourth guy that then can go against the whole. I mean, the issue is that Toronto could just throw so many guys. You have like Van Vliet.
They have so many guys.
You have Anunoby, you have Norm Powell, and that's not even, and that obviously doesn't even get to.
And none of them are great players. They're just all above average players that are well coached. Like, none of those guys scare you individually, but they just have so many guys. You're spot on with that one.
That's what makes me nervous. Is more so, but look, look, this is the thing. About playing a team like them, and you brought this up at the top, which I think is important, is like when you're playing against a team where their top guys in Siakam and Lowry are really not top guys on a championship team. They're more of like number 2s or 3s.
It's not crazy that Karras could have a better series than all of those guys.
Yeah, and what it means is that like if the Nets are able to play decently well, or as you said, like shoot the lights out, it means that if things get tight, the game gets much more simple, and that's when the one-on-one that you're talking about of like LeVert,
Karras, yeah,
LeVert Lowry or LeVert Siakam, whoever it is, like that becomes more real. Whereas like, all right, if you're playing, like even if you're playing like the Clippers or something, like another like top seed, it's like, all right, well, once the game gets close, like you guys have two guys who can get their own bucket at will, but you're right. I think as a one-on-one playmaker, I like LeVert doing his thing as much or more than I like Siakam or Lowry getting their own shot. Like it's just, I mean LeVert can play one-on-one.
Yeah. I think getting his own bucket, he's better than Lowry or Siakam, but they play great. But the counter to that is that they play great in Nurse's system, and Nurse's, probably coach of the year, strangely. Toronto's had 2 coaches of the year. They fired one coach of the year, and now they've got another guy who quite likely is coach of the year this year. Oh, crap. Like that's what we have to overcome. The bullshit that we believe, we have to make it true. We believe in this small ball. Well, right now, Jacques Vaughn, it's your job to believe that, to show that it could work. Run these guys off the court. Just put pressure on them. Keep scoring. And I was talking about, shithousery, and just, just a guy who just mucks up the game, mucks up the offense for the other team, and that's Rodions. I think for the Nets to win, they have to let Rodions. We've got to free Rodions, because the way they've treated this kid, it's clear organizationally and especially team wise there's something about Rodion's that they don't like. I think it has to do with his intelligence. I don't think Rodion's is the sharpest knife in the drawer, right? Like, have you noticed that a lot of times players have to yell at him to get in the right position?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some reason that a guy that brings as you've mentioned a million times, that brings as much energy as he does, and where the team does seem to kind of go on little runs, then to just not play.
Rodion's is the catalyst to their winning, and I think they go back into their boardrooms and they don't believe what they're seeing. Like, as much as I love D'Angelo Russell getting the shackles taken off of him is only part of the reasons why the Nets turned around. D'Angelo Russell was playing good already. The reason they started winning was because Rodion's took over as a rookie at power forward. You can correlate Nets winning and playing well with Rodion's in the starting lineup. And of course, there were times that the Nets' talent could not match up with other teams' talents. And it wasn't because Rodion's was on the court. It was just because they were a bunch of little kids last year playing against monsters like Joel Embiid. Yep. I think there's something going on, and it has nothing to do with Rodion's, the domestic abuse charge he got. I don't see much meat on the bone of that. I think in this climate he would have already been crucified, in some court if there was any kind of real thing going on. But the guy, especially in these last bubble games, he's proven it again. When you just let him go out there and play and be Rodion's, and live with the things that he's gonna do, he's gonna be hyper aggressive. He's the one physical player that we have on the Nets, the one guy willing to bang with guys that are bigger than him and get under their skin, is Rodion's. And I, for some reason, I have no proof of it. No one's ever told me this. Nothing like that. But I'm going by how they've treated him, how they've played him, playing him at backup center. Like, what are you doing? Starting, I don't even remember who they had starting at power forward. Oh yeah, Lance Thomas. Starting Lance Thomas over him at power forward.
He's basically like been cut out of the rotation at this point.
Oh, I don't understand why they can't recognize that this kid has been the catalyst, and they need him in this playoffs. If you think anybody could guard Siakam, it starts with having Rodion's and playing Rodion's significant minutes. And this is where the playoffs kind of scare me, because I think some of the decisions that they're making is because they know who they're getting next year. And some of the like the only motivations that a Sean Marks would have to sign a Jamal Crawford, a Beasley, and I'm not even remembering the third person that he signed that was a total joke.
Thomas?
Well, no, Lance Thomas is a joke, but just Justin Anderson. Like, I like Dante more than I like any of those guys, because there might be some upside. And the reason why you get these type of players is because you have something else coming in. It's not KD. I believe Sean Marks has seen enough champions and have been on enough championship teams to know that you need physicality and you need some size in the playoffs. I think they already know who they're getting. I think the handwriting's on the wall. I think everyone who didn't come to the bubble knows that they're probably safe and going to be on the team next year, except Wilson Chandler. I don't know if he'll be on the team next year, but
I hope not Prince.
I think Prince thinks he's safe. He's FOK.
I didn't even know he was.
Yeah, he's KD's boy. So
Right. You're right.
So being Kevin Durant's boy might